My name is Net Meredith. I'm the Executive Director of BIP, and today we are excited to have a new Sentinel program with new features this year in 2021. We are going to be going through some of those new features tonight, and then we're going to do some demos of the new technology we have for the Sentinel Apiary Program. As I mentioned, we had about 80 some people registered for this webinar. It looks like about 50 some are signing in right now, so that's great numbers. So we'll be doing these throughout the season, and so we're hoping to get some feedback from you tonight about some topics that you'd like to see. I want to introduce our team here. We've got several of us on the line joining us today. As I mentioned, I'm Net Meredith. I'm the Executive Director of Be Informed Partnership, and Sentinel Apiary Program is one of our programs. We also do other programs that you can learn about on our website. Our Sentinel Apiary Program Coordinator is Rachel Kuipers, who I'll have her say a quick hello.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel. I'm really glad to have you all here today. We're all really glad to have you all here today. Yeah.
And Shia will be your contact. Her email is at the end, and you may have already been in touch with her. She'll be your main contact if you have any questions about this webinar or anything else that comes up that we don't answer tonight. We also have Natalie Steinar. She's our research coordinator for BIP. A quick hello.
Hi everyone, good to get to be here.
And then we have our incredible IT team, Michaela Wilson and Nicholas Arias are going to be giving you guys a demo of the technology. If you both could say a quick hello.
Hello. Hi everyone, we're really excited to have you here.
And then we also have a man of many hats, Eric Malcolm. He helps out with donor relations, fundraising, programmatic things, and he is here tonight. He's going to help us moderate that Q&A. So a hello from Eric.
Hello, good to see you, Matt.
All right, so as you can see, we want to keep this sort of informal, and so we are going to have sessions in future webinars where we put you in breakout rooms and we have more interaction so that you all can get each other, get acquainted with each other, because in the past, the Sentinel participants, while they interacted with BIP, they didn't always interact as a group. So we're going to try to improve on that this year. So you'll have an opportunity to meet up with some of your Sentinel partners here, likely over Zoom. So a quick, just getting acquainted, I'm going to do a quick poll here, and hopefully this will come up on your screen. Just give you a couple seconds here to answer. How many years have you been beekeeping? And this is anonymous. Okay, we've got almost 80% answering here. It looks like we've got quite a few veterans, and then some who have recently started, and then we have some newbies, which is great. So Sentinel is a great way to get into your hives, and for new beekeepers as well as veteran beekeepers. So we're excited to have all of you here. I'm going to close the poll and move to the next one, because I don't think that 13% left is going to shift those numbers that much. And maybe I only could see the results, sorry. You guys weren't seeing them, but here are the results. And then I'm just going to quickly move into the next poll. And that is going to be using your chat box. So if you could find the chat box and make sure the 2 line says everyone. And if you could let us know what you're hoping to get from the Sentinel Apiary Program this year. What are you hoping to get from the Sentinel Apiary Program this year? Oh, these are coming in fast. The first one I saw was Fame. I thought that was pretty good. I don't know if we can promise that. Some of these others will have a better chance, I think. This is wonderful. We're gonna not have time to go over all of these tonight, but we're gonna sift through these and make sure that we're focusing on the things that you all have interest in. So I appreciate you putting this in the chat. We have a second question, and that is, why did you get into beekeeping in the first place? What drew you into beekeeping? So for those of you who are just signing in, it looks like we have some new participants. We're just doing a quick Q&A in the chat. What got you into beekeeping?
I agree that bees are endlessly interesting.
Yeah, these are some great responses. I got tired of my sister bragging about how cool it was. So some sibling wore you down. Perfect. These are great. Okay, so what we'd like to do in the future is we're probably gonna, you'll see these again in future breakouts, just to make sure we're checking in as BIP to meet your expectations and to just learn more about you. We want this to be a community. In the past, if you've been a participant, you know that we haven't had these this webinar series just for, or I should call it a community group, just for Sentinel participants. So this is new for us, and we appreciate any feedback during the season about this that you have. So don't be shy and let us know. So I think that's all we have for getting acquainted, unless I've forgotten something.
We have one more quick slide on the note of us getting to know you. Let me switch slides. So when you registered, you were asked whether you were returning or a new participant. So this is the results of that poll. So most of you are first-time participants, but it's pretty close. And then the map to the right of that chart shows where the apiaries are located. So you can see that you're pretty spread out. But there's little clusters, but this is pretty good representation. So if you know anybody in any of these unrepresented regions, send them our way.
And just so you know, if your dot isn't on there, it's because you weren't registered for this webinar. These are our webinar registrants. This isn't the sign up. So there are other people who are not on here. These are the people who signed up for this webinar and who signed up by, I think, 5 o'clock Mountain Time last night when I made the map. So there's a chance there's a dot that's missing if you're on this webinar. Also, we have some other participants who didn't sign up for the webinar who also may be missing from the map. But we will get a participant map going once we have all the signups finished, so you all can see where you're participating from. So I just want to give you a quick background since we have some new participants that might not know much about BIP, just a quick overview. Our main mission is to improve colony health, and that is through working with beekeepers from small scale to large scale. So we do collect a lot of honeybee health data, and researchers use that to do all sorts of analyses, and we have a lot of different projects going on at once. Our tech transfer team are the folks in the field that are working mainly with commercial beekeepers, and so they're going into many hives during the season to look for disease and diagnose any issues. We'll be talking about some of our IT tools tonight. So we're trying to get beekeepers more involved with technology so that we can get those data more easily and analyze those data. Our Sentinel program, which obviously you are involved in, we do field trials. So sometimes we do product testing, sometimes we do stock testing. Different organizations and agencies will basically hire us to run some field trials in some of these larger operations that we work with. Most people know BIP because of the loss and management survey, and hopefully you all just finished your survey. It ended on April 30th. And that's where we're cited the most in the media. And Natalie is really involved in that. And so she can answer any questions in future webinars if that's of interest to folks. And then we also have emergency response kits in which if someone is having a problem with their hive, they can send off for these and we can get them pretty quick diagnostics back so they can understand what's going on. A lot of commercial beekeepers use that for, you know, emergencies. They have a lot of hives that they could lose, so they want to find out something quick. So that's a general overview of BIP. And tonight we're just going to focus on one of our programs, the Sentinel program. And Rachel is going to give you a little bit of intro about that.
One day I'll get the hang of switching slides. So hopefully you all are at least somewhat familiar with the program. So basically, but I'll give a little refresher. So Sentinel is a citizen science program that aims to help reduce barriers to beekeeping and taking the best possible care, the best possible management of your bees. So we kind of do that we have two goals mainly. One is sort of like to provide education and to provide resources for education, such as, you know, if you want to use it as a teaching tool for your club or whatever. And we also hope to be, you know, our name, Sentinel, so you can picture like a guard keeping an eye out for an attack. So the idea is to kind of eventually grow to provide a kind of idea of what disease loads look like across the region. So we have a map on our website, and if you want the link to it, you can shoot me an email after, but we have a map on our website that's interactive. You don't have to be a participant to use it, but you can kind of click through. It shows down to the county level. No identifying information, but it'll tell you the average mite loads of that county. So we hope to provide that resource. So we send you the tools that you need to sample and inspect, and we also provide the same resources so that you can inspect to the same standards that our field specialists do, and just kind of help you get used to regularly sampling and inspecting, and give you an idea of, you know, from the very basics, how often do I get into my colonies and what am I looking for, to kind of people who are familiar with beekeeping and just want to fine tune their inspections or hold themselves accountable to getting into their colonies monthly. All right, and I'm going to pass this over to Nat to talk numbers and pretty graphs, data.
Yeah, hi everyone. I am the data person of the organization, so I do a lot of graphs, and it means when I present a lot of graphs, so I apologize for that in advance. But we wanted to give you a kind of a taste for the information that you will receive throughout this program in your participation with Sentinel. And so I thought the best way to do that was actually to show you what we sent our participants last year. So those are all graphs that came from our end of year Sentinel Apiary Program report. And so basically at the end of the year, we kind of really provide the most information is as a summary to all participants about everything that we have gathered all through the year. So month after month, you will receive a personalized response report that contain your Varroa load information, your disease information, your inspection notes, but also at the end, you will receive this summary that gather more general information that we gathered throughout the year. So last year we had participants, we had 76 participants in total, and you can see how some of those regions are more represented than others. So a lot of our participants are from the east side of the United States, and we're still trying to grow. And then you can see that most of our participants send sample between May and October, some in November. So that's really those 6 months are what we are covering most in our program. So of course, the core of the Sentinel Apiary Program is the Varroa load. And it is really something that it's part of our mission to encourage beekeepers to monitor regularly, because we know that Varroa load really can change very drastically from month to month. And that's because Varroa can just reproduce so fast. So it's very important to keep an eye on Varroa loads because they can change extremely fast. You can also, unfortunately, sometimes get reinfested if you are in a region where your neighbors might be a provider source for reinfection. So traditionally, we do see a peak in the fall. And so what this program provides is that you will receive the Varroa load from your apiary. You will also have, as a reference, the average load of all the Sentinel participants, and also what we call the national baseline, which is actually providing by an independent survey, which is the APHIS National Honeybee Disease Survey, which is an effort that is coordinated by University of Maryland, and Bee Informed Partnership is a partner, in which apiary inspector gathers samples from all states. And so this really provides us a national baseline to which we can compare our participants. And so you can see that last year, the Sentinel participants in orange were really on par with the national average. And so we see this peak in the fall, this part of the season where Varroa really grows in numbers, and so that's providing the highest pressure in terms of pest pressure on the bees during the months of September to November. So that is really the period for which having a very intensive monitoring helps you keep that in mind, and so you are not surprised by this increase in Varroa mites. So something that we've realized over the years that we've gathered samples is that we pretty much detect Varroa everywhere. And so it's really a question about sensitivity of the test, actually. If we look at the proportion of samples that have Varroa mite detected, we find that over all of the samples we've received over last year for Sentinel apiaries, 70% of those samples had Varroa detected in them. And so the other 30% is probably that the Varroa were too low to be detected. It doesn't mean that those colonies were free of Varroa, they were just below detectable threshold. And then you can also see in red the fraction of those samples that were over the threshold. So we usually use a threshold of 3 mites per 100 bees as being a threshold of potential damage. We will send you more tools during the year, but there are some tools out there to really try to teach you. So what are danger threshold and action threshold, and those vary throughout the time of the year, depending on if your colony is growing or receding at the end of fall in preparation for winter. But typically 3 mites per 100% is considered on average over all the season or action threshold. And so a lot of our graphs use this 3% as a level of, if not worry, that you need to hopefully have a control method to try to avoid those high levels. And you can see how that fraction of percentage of samples that were above that threshold increased from month to month all the way to the fall. During our program, we actually are also asking our participants to collect other information. And though we do not directly currently report on it month to month, at the end of the year, it's pretty neat to be able to see how those change from month to month. And so, for example, one of the measure that we ask for participants is to calculate the Varroa, the frames of bees, which is this idea of the population population size inside your colony. Thank you. And so here you can see, oh, I think my legend was cut, but you can see in orange is the Sentinel, and I believe that's okay. I believe the gray was just another national average. So you can see how our participants, we're pretty good at following the national average. So we can see how colonies tend to grow during the peak of the season being July, August, and then reduce in size again. Other things that we are asking to our note taking is the configuration of your colony. And so it's actually pretty neat to be able to see what is the favored colony configuration of our participants. And so we saw last year that most of our participants really like the 2 deep method. So a lot of our participants just were keeping their colonies in 2 deeps. And then you can see, of course, 2 deep, 1 medium, or 2 mediums when they were adding ado suppers, but really the standard seemed to be 2 deeps. And so we want to do more of digging into those data and hopefully add those to your month-to-month reports as we are improving them over time. So the more data that you give us, the more we'll be able to add those data visualization and to dig deeper into those small questions to give you back not only your data, but how you fit with the rest of the Sentinel participants. A couple of other things, I believe I have 2 more graphs. One of them is a queen status, which is this other thing that we ask beekeepers to take note of when they inspect their colonies. And so if you report this information, then we'll be able to give you information back. And so, for example, last year, we were able to visualize how most of the queen issues, such as drone laying queen and laying workers, were actually found in the spring. So it's probably some type of swarming events that and requeening event that failed and resulted in issues. And so we see those more in the spring, and how we also saw that there were a higher proportion of unconfirmed status. So means the queen was not seen, so they didn't see the queen and they didn't see eggs. So they weren't able to confirm the presence of the queen. Those were in higher proportion in the fall, and so we probably think that beekeepers, didn't attempt to inspect their colonies too long during the fall, which is maybe a possibility of why they were not providing a queen status in November in particular. So yeah, the more detail you give us, the more we'll be able to give back in terms of looking at when and where we see issues, not only in Varroa, but on all of these other metrics. And so finally, the next graph is colony mortality. And so, of course, during June to October, November, we're not expecting to see a lot of mortality, but sometimes those events happen. And so whenever you have a colony that you keep for the Sentinel program that dies, we typically ask you to retire the tag, to not reuse it again, not just shift it, but actually tell us that that colony died so that we can keep it in our data. And to tell us maybe if you know why that colony died. And so, for example, last year we had 30 colonies out of the, I forgot how many colonies we had total, but we had 76 participants. So 70 times 4 or 8. So on all of those participants, we had 30 colonies that were reported to us to be lost at some point during the active season. And you can see that most of those were actually queen related. So some consequence of a queen failure, though a lot of them were unknown. And then Varroa, of course, was also highly cited. Now, of course, this is the mortality during the summer. Those participants that we were part of our program last year, during the month of April, so we just finished that, we actually asked them a follow-up questionnaire to know if those colonies that they followed last year, how did they do over the winter? And so that colony, we just finished gathering it in April, and we will analyze it to be able to see, after having 6 months of following the Varroa load and all of these other metrics, if that can tell us about their over mortality and how they fared during the following winter. So all of those data are very important in terms of research. They're supporting those basic questions to try to really understand what are driving the survival of colonies. And those programs are also used by a lot of graduate students here at the University of Maryland. So if this is of interest, this is also something that we can share during some of those webinars. We can invite some of those students to show you what they're doing when some of those samples are used by graduate students to answer specific questions. So with that, I believe, yeah, that is my part.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what to expect, and some of these are the same bullet points as previous years, and some of them are new. We do have slides that go more in depth on all of these topics, so I'm not going to talk too much about them. But one of the things that we're doing, as Net mentioned, we're trying to foster a community. So not only can you guys get to know each other a little bit better, but we want to get to know you better. We want you guys to get to know us better. So we just want to kind of develop this community, you know, and resources. We're adding resources. So as with previous years, we send along inspection guides. We have videos on our YouTube. The link will be at the very end of the slideshow. And we, you know, you have the BIP team as a resource, so you can always reach out to us. And if whoever you reach out to can't answer your question, they'll pass it along to someone else who can, or they'll find out for you. But we have your back. I'm gonna, let's see, supplies. I'm gonna tell you in a future slide about the supplies that come with your kit. I have a photo of them. And our wonderful IT team is going to talk about the app and dashboard, which is new for this year. And we are so excited about this. And we hope you are too. All right, I'm going to pass it to Net to talk about the community.
Thank you, Rachel. So as we mentioned at the beginning, this is new for us this year, and we're really wanting to get more of a community going. These, we weren't sure what to call them. You're welcome to put some suggested names in the chat, but we were thinking, you know, online coffee houses or community meetings, virtual meetings. You can come up with a fun name for us if you'd like, and we'll use it. But basically, we'd like to meet with you once a month, and we can change the format each time. So sometimes it may be a webinar where we have a speaker with questions. Other times, maybe it's more breakout sessions where you meet with some mentors and you bring a specific question, or we ask in advance for a theme, and then we make sure that we're prepared for that particular theme. So we're going to ask you for some input about that in a bit, but I wanted just to first introduce the idea, because this is new to Sentinel and we haven't tried it before, so you guys are our guinea pigs, but I think you'll be a willing group because we can all learn from each other. So it's exciting for us to get this started. And you know, we have a lot of virtual things anyway, because we are all virtual as BIP team. Even pre-COVID, we've been spread out all over North America. So we're used to this, but we think we can think of some ways of making it more fun and interactive, even if we are stuck on our Zooms and computers sometimes.
And it's me this time. Hello, everybody. So yeah, one of the things that we are aiming to do, of course, is to provide you all with the tools that you need to succeed and record. So one of the goals of Sentinel Apiary is to help you inspect and sample your colonies the same way as our team in the field, so that all of the incoming data aligns. So we provide a number of resources to help with Sentinel participants make determinations on colony health and metrics. Last year, I'm not sure if any of you had a chance to join. I know I actually do recognize quite a number of names in here. We had our BIP webinar series that offered more in-depth look at factors affecting colony health and identifying brood diseases. So those are all available to you on our website, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But and a lot of you have already received your sampling kits. So basically, we provide a number of resources that help you guys make these determinations. But again, like Rachel mentioned, if you ever have questions or you want to reach out to us, send an email. You know, some of us have our cell phone numbers floating around out there, so you're welcome to reach out to us. But in the actual kits that we sent out, there are printouts of the protocols. So you have how to calculate frames of brood, frames of bees, how to determine queen status, brood pattern, common diseases, and of course, how to fill out the inspection sheets. But new this year, we're actually going to be launching our how-to video series, which just basically focus on kind of more hands-on or more, I guess, visually appealing ways to tell you about these different types of protocols. So just offers a little bit more of an in-depth look on how to do those things. In addition to that, if you, of course, all of them are available at the Sentinel Apiary Program page on the at beinformed.org/Sentinel. And just beyond that, if you are looking for more in-depth ability to diagnose and or treat honeybee diseases, we actually do have a manual available. Either you can get it as a thank you gift, or you can order it from Man Lake, Dadant. Blue Sky Bee Supply also carries them. But yeah, so those are all available to you. You can access most of those things except the disease manual by going to beinformed.org/Sentinel.
And the manual is available on our website as well, just not at that URL. It's at beinformed.org/support, but you are able to access it there.
So you all can have probably figured out by now that this is my first time running running a slideshow. I'm still getting used to how the switching works. So I want to talk a little bit about what supplies will come in your kit. So most of you have received your kit already. A few people's kits were delayed in the mail, and I'm really sorry about that, but everything is expected to arrive in the next few days. So when you receive your kit, you'll get one large box, and that will contain all of these things inside of it. So you'll have all of the bottles that you'll need. Now this is an 8-colony kit. So if you have a 4-colony kit, instead of 8 bottles, you'll have 4. If you have a 12-colony kit, you'll have 12. But that's the only difference. So you receive the box and the mailing labels that you'll need to mail them back. This is just the address. And so if you lose those, you can always reach out and ask for the address. You'll receive the inspection guides and the protocol. You'll receive hive tags, and you do, as Natalie mentioned earlier, you do receive extra hive tags so that you can retire a number if one of your colony is lost during the year, and you can create a new number for a new colony. And that's really important so that we can keep track of colony mortality data. You'll receive a 1/4 cup scoop and a funnel, and these are tools for actually sampling the bees. So all of this is outlined in the protocol, but basically what you do is you take 2 scoops, so a 1/2 cup total, you put them through the funnel into the bottle. It's if you haven't done it before, it's intimidating at first a little bit, but you get the hang of it really quickly. It's not that bad. I've never been stung doing it. But little tip, I cover the top of the funnel and shake the bottle so they all fall in. It's sad, but you'll get used to it. Yeah, I think that's it. If you have any questions about the materials in your kit, reach out to me after. One major difference, or the only difference between previous years and this year, is that this year you may have noticed that we didn't send a data sheet in your box. That is because of the app. So all of your data will be entered into the app. Once you've entered our IT team will talk more about this in a minute, but once you've added your data to the app, it's stored locally on your phone until you push that sync with BIP button on the front, and that'll send it over to our database, and then we can access your data and upload your results when they're ready. So yeah, if you want a copy of the data sheet for your own notes in the field, if you don't like using your phone in the field, or if you're mentoring for a club and you want your participants to follow along, it will be available online, or you can shoot me an email and I'll send it to you. But we will be primarily using the app for full data entry this year. All right, I'll hand it over.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so the app and the dashboard, if you haven't connected yet, we should have a user account ready for you, and you should have gotten an email about that. I'm still working on getting your historical data if you're a returning participant connected to that. So don't worry about that. We will take care of it in coming days and weeks here. But we'll go over the website a little bit first and what you need to know about the dashboard. And then Nicholas will talk about the mobile app. But I want you to think about both of these. The mobile app and the website is the same database application. And they just are running on two different places. You can think of it that way. And there are things you have to do to make them talk to each other. You have to press a button before one or the other knows what happens on those. And so that's just something to keep in mind. But they are the same as far as like things like logging in. If you forget the password for to log in to the mobile app, it's going to be the same password as the website, and you'll need to go to the website and click on the buttons to reset your password up there in the upper right corner where it says Rosecomb Apiaries on this slide. Can we go to the next slide?
Yeah, let me jump in here, Michaela. So as Michaela mentioned, by now you should have received this email you can see on your screen. If you haven't seen it, look for it on your inbox. Its subject line is create your Sentinel Apiary Program password. And if after that you still can't find it, just shoot us an email and we will help you set up. So yeah, the email just has an introductory text and that big blue button, which when you click on it, Rachel, can we go to the next slide? You will be redirected to our site where you will be asked to enter a new password. And this, as Michaela said, this will be the password that you are going to use both to log into the app and the website. Afterwards, yeah, that's fine. Next slide. You will get second email with some extra information. It has links to the protocols, to some important information, and the app, both on the App Store and Google Play. So if you got the email, if you got to this point, you're all set. You're ready to use the app, and we are excited to have you use the app during this season. Otherwise, please contact us. You can either email Rachel, and she will direct you to us, or you can go to beinformed.org/sentinel-helpdesk, and there's a form there that you can fill in, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So now that's out of the way, I'll leave you back with Michaela, who's going to talk about the website.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, no worries on sending emails, on getting set up, and when we work on getting your historical data connected, there might be some we might need to communicate about that as well. So this will be, it's pretty simple. Use your dashboard once you log in. That there's the button in the top bar to click Use Your Dashboard. You will need to click that. And you will see any of the beekeeper records that you've created on the mobile app. If you're only collecting data just at your own apiary, then it's just going to be just you. But if, for example, you you split a kit with somebody and you're collecting data from their bees as well as your own, you can create a second beekeeper record for that to keep those data separate, and they'll show up right here. And if you have historical data, you will click on that year drop down box, and then you can see which years you have data for in there. The Sentinel report button there, it's going to create the Sentinel report on whatever beekeeper you've selected there. If there's only one, and I'll just make it for that one. But each beekeeper would have a separate report generated, and then the exports button is just going to export all the data. If you want to go to the next slide. And to export your data, there's going to be a couple steps to do that. So when you click on that export button here, you actually have two separate exports. The management data you're entering is this action event export, and then the regular data is the sample export. And there's little instructions there about how there's a couple more clicks you'll do, but it's real easy. Next slide, please. And this is the export. Just wanted to quickly show that for a second, that the top rows, it's going to be a CSV file, and you can open it in Excel or Google Sheets if you don't have Excel. And the first rows there are going to be the kind of the metadata about the data about data, and the column names, and then the data starts below that. Now, you don't ever actually need to export your data if you're getting all the information you need off the reports. But some of you may want to download that data and use it elsewhere. And we're back here. So now we click on the report button, Sentinel report button, and we go to the next slide, and we'll see it. And you can print these off and make PDFs out of them and share them if you want, or you can just view them in the browser. But if you do want to share them, like with your bee club or other people, the way you do that is in your browser, you click on the just print, like you're going to print the web page, and then save as PDF, as you see there, and then you click save, and it'll save that report for you. Next slide. And this is one of the charts on the report, and this is kind of what we're going for, but also not what we're going for. Like, you really don't want your Varroa levels to get this high, but this is what we're trying to do in the report, is to chart these colonies over time. So each one of these lines represents a colony, and these are the tags numbers that you're going to have. And the idea of the Sentinel program is to see that progression over time and to compare it to other colonies in the apiary, and also kind of this kind of baseline that was talked about earlier. These stair steps in the back is the national average Varroa level from a different survey. And you can kind of see if your mites are a little higher or lower. But usually, if it's more than 3 mites per 100 bees, that's starting to get pretty high. And so you can see a lot of these colonies went over that. But one of the things I want to be sure to remind and point out is that each time you enter a sample from a colony, you want to type or want to enter that colony number exactly as it should be, so that these charts can generate the same, recognize that it's the same colony over time. We wouldn't know it's the same colony unless the colony numbers entered the same. And the app, Nicholas does work there to make that easy for you, but just a little reminder, if you leave the dash out one time and then put the dash back in, the next time it'll think it's a different colony. And that's pretty much it on the website. It's a pretty simple interface, and should do what you need it to do.
Okay, so now we can talk about the app. if you don't have it already on your phone or tablet, you can follow the links for the links on your welcome email, or you could just search for BIP research on whatever store your device uses, either Google Play or the Apple App Store. So now I'm going to share my screen and we're going to do a live demonstration of how to use the app. So I'm going to stop Rachel's screen sharing here and look for my, okay. There you go. So the first screen you will see would be the login screen. And the app is designed to work offline. But you would need internet access in two different instances. The first one would be when you log in, and the second one would be when you are uploading data back to BIP's server, as Rachel mentioned earlier today. So we're gonna enter our username and password, hit the login button, and check that our password is right. Give me just a second and see why that didn't work. That's the fun stuff about doing it live. Why is this not working? Okay, I'm gonna need a couple of minutes while I troubleshoot this. Maybe we can move to Q&A while I figure why my password isn't working.
Sure thing. So we will get this app demonstration in a minute, and if not, he can refer maybe to some screenshots from a different slideshow and show you some things. What we can do is skip to a question that we have that we're going to do later anyway, and that is we want to do this series of Coffeehouse Chats, and I saw whatever the name is, I saw some suggestions in the chat box, thank you. But we would like to hear from you, besides learning how to use the app, which is coming tonight, in future ones, what are some topics or things that you'd like to discuss or learn? We don't always want it to be a top-down, us talking to you. We'd also like to do some group sessions and mentoring sessions with smaller groups and breakout rooms. Would love to hear some things that you guys would like to discuss as the Sentinel community this year. So a topic could be, for example, a how-to, I don't really understand how I'm supposed to do this particular thing. So we do some demos for you. Or I saw a recent article about this. What do you guys know about this? So just start filling in the chat box for a few minutes. Once Nicholas is ready, he can give us a thumbs up over the
I'm ready right
chat.
now.
He's ready. Okay, let's give it a few minutes just to get some of these ideas. And we can ask this again later to get even more, but I'll give it another minute. If you guys would help us understand what you'd be interested in learning or sharing, we would like to do at least one of these webinars where we highlight some of you and your apiaries. And so that would be really fun if we could get some volunteers for that. So it's open-ended. We have our ideas of what we think we could do, but we'd love to hear from you. I'll stop talking so you can think a moment. Okay, it looks like we've got some cool ideas coming in. Okay, this is great. Okay, I'm gonna switch back now to Nicholas. Keep them coming, and we'll give you more opportunity at the end to enter more. do stick around. We are going to have a fun activity at the end with a prize. So we want to make sure you are here for that. So I'll shut up so that Nicholas can start the demo.
Okay, so that was proof that we are actually doing stuff live. And yeah, things can go wrong when you do it live, but it's fine. I managed to enter my password correctly, and we're now on the next screen, which just shows us that we downloaded 0 records from the database. And that just means that it's a brand new account, and we don't have any data yet. So you're gonna see the same thing on your app. So we just click done, and we are transported to the home screen. So the home screen has 3 different sections. The top one will show you the recent sample events. So up to 5 new sample events you will see here when you create them. Next, we will have the management actions, same deal, up to 5 of them, the most recent ones, you will see a list here. Then we have new records and saved records. And you can see that the list of records, it's the same for both. So you have beekeepers, locations, sample events, action events, and it's the same on the saved records section. There's a critical difference between the 2 of them, and it is that the new records are records that exist only on your device, so we don't have any access to them until you click the Sync with BIP button, which will upload them to the servers and move them to saved records. So in general, we say that saved records are safe records. They are not in danger of being lost. If something happens to your device, if it breaks, or if anything, we already have a copy of them on our servers, so they won't be lost. Any records that are here in the new record section, BIP doesn't have access to them. So Rachel can't process your samples correctly until you upload them. So the first step to using the app is to create a beekeeper. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. For that, we will click on the beekeepers item here. And it will transport us to the list of beekeepers. Since we don't have any data yet, this is empty and it says just no new beekeepers. So we're gonna click or tap on the plus icon here at the top right, and it will take us to the new beekeeper form. So we're gonna create a new one. She's gonna be called John Doe. And he's gonna have a phone number of 555-5555. And there's all his contact information here that you can fill completely. So for most of you, the beekeeper would be yourself. It really depends on how you're gonna use the kit. So some of you are sampling for other people, so they would be the beekeeper and you would be the sampler. And if you're doing it all by yourself, you would be both the beekeeper and the sampler. So once we have hit the save button at the top right, we'll be taken back to the beekeeper list, and now we have the John Doe record. So that's it for beekeeper creation. So we can now go back, and we're gonna create a yard for the beekeeper, and that's a location. So we select the location item here. Same thing, we don't have any locations yet, so we're gonna go to the plus sign. So we're gonna go to the plus sign, and it will take us to the new location. We will select the beekeeper for whom we're creating the location or the yard, and that's John Doe. And we're gonna name our yard my yard. So from here, you can fill in the all of the location information. You can choose to select your GPS coordinates from a map, or you can type them in directly into the fields. So let's pick that from a map. It will ask you if you want to allow the app to use your location. This is so that it can show you a location close to you easier. You can choose to allow or deny it. And it will load the map in a second. There you go. So yeah, this is located in the Google campus. I'm not really there. That's just the default location, and we can use the maps controls to change our location. So we can move around. Let's say we have our yard somewhere here in California, and it will zoom into where we selected. When we do that, the app will detect the coordinates and fill them in itself, so we don't have to type all of that in. We're gonna select the save icon here at the top right, and that will be it for the new location creation. Let's go back, and we're ready to actually take samples. So let's tap the Take Samples button, select the beekeeper we're taking samples for, and the location where we are taking them. And we'll be taken to the sample event form. So in the sample event form, we're gonna enter data related to the operation in general. So the first thing we're gonna find is who we're taking the samples for, where we're taking them, when we're taking them, and our field for the code, the kit code we're taking samples for. So let's make up a code here. Let's call it BIPS for BIP Sentinel. And we're gonna say that the sampler is me. Here in the notes field, you can enter any notes you think are relevant for the sampling event in general. I'm gonna skip over here and we can come back in a minute. So we're gonna enter the reason for sampling, which is gonna be Sentinel or Sentinel sampling. And we're gonna say that I have 20 colonies, of which 20 are healthy. I'm really lucky that way. No non-healthy colonies, no dead colonies, and seasonal info. Let's say it's been a little rainy. But with good flow, good nectar flow. And finally, it asks you what's blooming. So let's say that we have been getting some clover. And that would be all the operation general information you need to fill. So now we have the samples we're actually going to take. So to start sampling for one colony, we're going to click on the plus sample button, and it will take us to the new sample form. So since we entered the kit code, the app will automatically help you with a partial colony number. So we have the S21, our kit code, and then we just need to enter the number of the colony we are sampling. The same thing for the bottle ID, which gives us the partial code, and depending on the month, it will give you 1 through 6. So since we're in May now, it's giving us number 1. And we just need to enter the colony number for that. You can see here at the top that we have the option to tell the app if the colony is alive, dead, or non-viable. Non-viable just means that it's too weak to be sampled, so we're not going to take a sample from that. And that means that sadly our colony died and we need to replace it with a new colony and a new colony tag. The app is, you can use the app for your general record keeping. And in that case, you would not have a Sentinel colony number or a Sentinel colony consecutive. So you can enter whatever number you would like here. Now we're gonna fill in the yard group. And let's say this is the colony, the Sentinel yard group. And we're gonna indicate what the queen status is. So let's say we saw the queen and we select queen scene here. And from there, it will ask us what was the mark color of the queen. If it wasn't marked, you don't have to fill it in, but we're gonna fill it in. So we tap there, and whenever you see this selection box with a search bar at the top, you might be able to enter data that is not there. So here we have the options for blue, green, red, white, or yellow mark. And let's say we have a pink mark on our queen. So we can just write down pink, and it will show you that a new record here and the option to add. So we're going to tap there. And now from now on, when you are filling in the queen color, you will not only get the options that we give you by default, you will get the pink option as well. Next, we enter the frames of bees. And these frames of bees must be in terms of deeps. So if you have mediums or other box sizes for your colony, you need to get the conversion to frames of bees, which is the to deeps, frames of bees in terms of deeps, which is the colony standard. Next, we enter the brood pattern, which is a number from 1 to 5. And let's say we have an OK brood pattern and any nodes, any extra nodes for that particular colony. So at the bottom here, you can see that there's this bar with the arrows pointing upwards and an equipment label here. And this is just because the form is split into 3 different sections, which are the general colony, and that's this form you're seeing here, the equipment section, and the visual inspection. So you can jump around those 3 different sections using this menu, or you can cycle through them by tapping here at the bottom. So now we see equipment, and we're gonna go there. We switch the form here at the top, and we can see now that the next step after we finish with the number of frames, with the equipment, would be the visual inspection. So earlier in the webinar, we had Cindy Hodges and Maureen J. Mick. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that last name. And they asked about the supers and the different types of boxes. So yeah, we want to keep track of both the brood boxes and the supers. And we're seeing here that we ask you about the number of boxes at the time of sampling. And when we see the management actions, I will show you that we also, there's also a section to record when you add honey supers as well as brood boxes. So here we're gonna fill in the number of frames. So we're doing an 8 frame colony, And we have here another one of those boxes. But you can notice here that it just says search. So if I were to add something, try to add something else, it doesn't allow me to add any extra data. So these options are set. So we're gonna select field from there, and then we're gonna select the number of boxes we have on our colony. And that would be it for the equipment section of the sample form. Next, we're gonna see the visual inspection, where you will record any pests or diseases or sign of diseases that you see during your inspection. So for each one of them, we have observed, not observed, or non-applicable. And there's an important difference between not observed and not applicable, and it's that if you looked for it or actively looked for it and didn't find the pest or disease, then it's not observed. But if you were doing something else and didn't really look for the signs of disease or the pest, then it's not applicable. That's really important for when we are analyzing the data to make that distinction, and that's why it exists. Here at the top, you have a couple of shortcuts. It can be tedious just to tap on everything when you didn't see it. So we have a couple of shortcuts that set all of the values to one particular one. In this case, it would be not observed or not applicable. And let's say that for our hypothetical inspection, we just saw Varroa, so we set them all to not observed, and then we scroll down to Varroa and set that to observed. Finally, you can see that down here, we are no longer only seeing the name of the section, we are also seeing some of the data we have already filled. And this is just so that you can have all of the information you have entered, or the most important information you have entered in the other sections, available at a glance, so that you can double check if it's all correct. And if it is, you can go ahead and save your sample, and it will take you back to the sample event form. Once you have entered your samples, you will see here the list of all of them. And you should repeat the sample entering form for each one of the colonies that you have on your apiary, or each one of the colonies you're going to sample for your kit. So now let's say that we're done here. So we're going to save as well and go back to the home screen. So as I told you earlier, here's the recent sample events list, and that's the record we have just created. Next, we have all the management information, and so we're going to click on the new management action here. Again, select the beekeeper we're doing it for, and the yard where we're doing the management actions. And here we're gonna fill in the colony identifier. So let's say S21 BIPS1. Let's say we're gonna feed 2 of our colonies. And we're gonna select the action type for feeding. And it's gonna ask us what kind of feed we use to feed our colonies. So we're gonna say, again, we have this selection box for which we have, in this one, we can add as well. So let's say we fed them candy, just because it's fun. Tap the add button, and now we have the option to say we fed our colonies candy. But we didn't really feed them candy. We are gonna say we fed them 1-to-1 ratio simple syrup, and we're gonna say that we fed them one. This is the amount per colony, so each colony got one, and we're gonna select what unit we use to what unit that one corresponds to. So again, we can add stuff here. So we're gonna say 1 kilogram, click add, and now we have our feeding information. So we fed them simple syrup, 1 kilogram per colony. And let's say that we added some essential oils in the additives field, and we could add any additional data we think relevant in the notes field. So now that that's done, we can go ahead and save, and we'll have that feeding record here in the recent management actions. So there are different types of action types, different type of actions you can record. So feeding, treatment for pests and diseases, harvesting honey, requeening, and changing equipment. We're not gonna go through all of them because it would just take a lot of time, but they will have different fields on each of them. And I'm gonna stop here for a minute on the change equipment one, just because we mentioned that earlier. And here we have, you can record how many brood boxes and of which size did you add or remove from your colony. And again, you can add more sizes here. For example, if you have a 3/4 boxes, you can add it on this to this box, and you will be able to submit that. So we have boxes added here at the top, then boxes removed at the bottom, and any other equipment changes or equipments you added or removed from your colony, such as entrance reducers, hive scales, pollen traps, so on and so forth. So let's go back to the home screen. And as you saw already, as I told you earlier, your data is here in the new record. So we have 1 beekeeper and 1 location here. And there's nothing on the save records. So what we do, what you should do for after you finish sampling and recording everything, the most important part is to click on the Sync with BIP button, which will proceed to upload all of the data to our servers. And when you do so, you'll get this summary here, which says, okay, we uploaded 5 different records, which correspond to all we did in this demonstration. And now the top part is empty, and the bottom part now has 1 record for each one of the sections. So that was a pretty quick overview of how to use the app. Remember that this video is going to be available for you to go back and see it again. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we will be happy to address them.
Thank you, Nicholas. So we have actually quite a few questions in the chat, but I don't know that we have time to stick around for all of them. We're already over. But I think what we can do is sift through these and do the ones that can help the majority of the group. I think we could compile and put in an email to you all, or put it on our site. Eric, do you see any, while you've gone through, that you think we definitely need to answer tonight so that people can go forward?
Yeah, so Okay, Sarah Redlard, hey Sarah, asked regarding brood pattern, is this subjective or is there a specific guide? Sarah, there is a specific guide. And you can, in your Sentinel kit, you will have a protocol list that actually kind of gives you an example of what one, like a brood pattern of 1, 3, and 5 look like, and then you can differentiate the difference between those. Let's see, we had a...
And those protocols are also available as PDFs on the Sentinel site. So beinformed.org/Sentinel.
And
you also received it in your intro email as well. You have a link to that too.
So also we have a Melanie Block ask, if I have multiple students, and I know this is actually a situation a couple of people are dealing with, if I have multiple students working on this, should they all download the app and make their own profile? And I guess that's maybe a question for Nicholas. Sorry, I was calling you by your nickname.
Can you repeat that, Eric, please?
It says, Melanie asked, if I have multiple students working on this, should they all download the app and make their own profile, or should she plan on entering them for them?
You can have them all download the app. Right now, we would advocate for sharing your own or the Sentinel, the kit owners' login information so that they can all use the app and enter the data. I think that would be the best way to solve that.
Thank you. And Cindy Hodges asked, do you want to know how many honey supers that go on and off the hives? Cindy, just through doing the program, typically it does ask for the colony configuration each time you start your inspection. So that's something that is tracked like during your record keeping. But if anybody has anything they'd like to add to that, please do.
There was a related question about the top bar hives. And on those, since the configuration doesn't really change, you probably just don't need to worry about those questions. But do put in that they are top bar hives would be helpful for us to know that.
Thank you.
And
last question, I believe, well, we've got a couple, but if we can fit this in, how do we deal with switching the queen or making splits for the hive in the program? And Natalie, that might be a good question for you to answer.
Right. So in terms of requeening events, that is actually one of the contingency plans we have in our action plan. So you can say when you go in the record an action that you have done a requeening. And so if you make splits, that would also be something that you can take note there as one of those actions that you've changed your colony by taking frames out so that you could make a split. So those are things that you can record in our management action events.
Thank you. Todd Myers asked, I'm installing 3 packages tomorrow. Should I take a sample on May 15th or wait? Todd, I would recommend waiting. You typically want to give them a couple of weeks to get established before you start taking from them. So probably more closer to the end of the month would be a safe bet. Again, if anybody has any other feedback on that, please chime in. And then lastly, and I'll stop if somebody asks or adds something, but Denise Rosler Cunningham asked, let's say we're sampling 4 colonies. Would you prefer we save once after all 4 are sampled or individually after each colony is finished, or does it matter? Nico or Michaela, if you guys don't mind answering that.
Yeah, I just answered that in the chat actually, and she can. It's fine. You can sync your data after you finish doing all the sampling. What our field specialists do is they go out on the field, they take all the samples, record all the data, and at the end of the day, once they have finished all their work and have an active internet connection, they will just hit sync to BIP and it will upload the data for a bunch of sampling events. So I think that's the best way to do it, just so that the app doesn't get in the way.
Excellent.
Great, thank you.
We have done that was in order to allow you to take your data even if you don't have an active internet connection. So you can go back home and then sync when you have internet. You don't need to have internet at your hives.
Right.
Great, thank you. So I'd like to move this on because I want to be cognizant of all of our participants' time here. We are going to move into a little contest. Rachel, you need to be super careful on the slide switching in this moment. And if the rest of BIP staff could just scroll through the Q&A, and if you see a question that was not answered, if you could answer. I know Michaela and Nicholas have been answering some that I've seen. If there, and anyone else, if you see something that you can answer real quick in the chat, please put that in there. We'd like to end with just a fun little contest. We have disease manuals that we can send out to our winner or winners if there's a tie. So this is just a Price is Right sort of contest. Put in a number between 1 to 1,000 in the chat, and we'll give you a couple minutes to do that. And whoever comes closest without going over, if you wouldn't mind putting your name and address in the chat, but just to me. My name is Net Meredith. You don't need to broadcast your address to everybody, but just put your address in the chat under the to line to me if you are the winner, and I can send that out to you. So let's give it another minute. I see some more entries coming in. We want to give everyone a chance here. This is, if you're not familiar with our disease manual, it does have a lot of really nice close-up photos. I think that's the best feature of it, is these nice photos to help you diagnose things going on in your hive. And as Eric mentioned earlier, we do have these at the bee suppliers, and you can also get them off of our site. Somebody already thinks they're winning, broadcasting their addresses to us. They're very confident in their numbers. All right, let's give it, I have about 30 seconds on my clock I'm watching here. So 30 seconds. And then I'm gonna ask BIP staff to help me figure out who the winner is. Some of you might remember the number and you can already start looking through. Okay, 15 seconds, last entries. All right, we're gonna close it up. So I'm just gonna put in a note to everyone, contest closed, so that we know when it's over. And no late entries get in. Okay, so let's reveal that winning number. Drum roll. All right, 571. So who came closest without going over? BIP staff, could you please help scroll?
I think we got Brian Bender. He's 555.
We have a 5.
No, Ken
Oh,
Paragosh,
no.
561, yeah.
Sorry, Brian. Good job, Ken.
Okay, so can someone from BIP put the name in the everyone chat just so that everyone can see the winner? Perfect. And now Kent, if you wouldn't mind, in the to line, just selecting me, Net Meredith, and putting in your mailing address where I can mail this, and I will get it to the post office. Congratulations. So we'll try to do some sort of contest like this at each of our webinars. I can't tell you what the gifts will be each time, but we do want to bring a prize to each one of these. Let's keep going in the rest of the slides. I think we only have a couple left here. Oh, we do want to give a shout out to all the people who, and companies and organizations who collaborate with us, partner with us, and help support us through sponsorships. And I think that may be the end, except for questions. Again, if you have ideas for us that you'd like to see in future webinars or coffee chats, you guys can help us come up with a name for these. You can put that ideas in the chat. We'll leave this open for a few more minutes. And we will see you in about a month's time. We'll get your ideas together. We'll sift through this chat when we're finished in the next couple weeks and come up with some good ideas for future community meetings. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm gonna turn it over to Rachel for any last information she may have for the group.
Yeah, so thank you all for joining us. It was really great to have you all here. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see all of our social media accounts. You can contact us there. You can follow us, and my email's on the screen. If you have any questions that we didn't answer, you can shoot us an email. Our website has a link to the different contact form. If you have a very specific question, you can go there and sort through until you find your topic. Thanks for joining us. I hope you learned a lot tonight, and I hope you're looking forward to the next webinars, because we are.
Great, thank you. Natalie, could you turn the recording off, please?